Welcome to the Fighting Idiocracy podcast. Today, this one is going to be called The Sermon. That's all I can call this one because I'm finna go off on America, my country, born and raised. My roots go back in this country for centuries. Prove it on Ancestry.com, through GNA, through my spit. My spit proves that my genes go back in this country at least 400 years. Most of my ancestors were Americans descendants of slaves. But I'm very mixed with a lot of stuff, like a lot of Black Americans. Indigenous genes, Jewish genes, of course, many different African tribe genes, all kind of European genes. But Americans, man, we so damn stupid, man. The indigenous, the first occupants of this country. You know, it's funny, in history, when I was a kid, they tried to teach us in history that the Native Americans welcomed the Spanish conquistadors with open arms. They thought they were gods and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's true that when Christopher Columbus and the settlers arrived on shores close to America, there were natives that greeted them and welcomed them with open arms and looked at them like, wow, you guys are amazing with your technology and everything. Got to pause this real quick. Some of the indigenous were amazed when they first saw the Spanish conquistadors with their copper helmets and their ships that were made to perfection, and craftsmanship of their swords, and just so many other things were just done so perfectly, methodically, mathematically. They were so impressed. That was some. However, most Native Americans did not accept the Spanish, like the Spanish, want the Spanish, welcome the Spanish. Many of them fought the Spanish. And that was Spain. America now is very anti-Spanish, anti-Hispanic, especially right now. It's 2025. Trump and MAGA rule our Congress and everything. But back to this indigenous word that they had back in the day. The word it's real similar to the word that you'll hear along the border. Some Hispanics and Spanish speakers still say something. It's like tapao, tapadao. But it basically means stupid. But not just stupid, a different kind of stupid than we can think of, than we can contextualize or think of with our current living version of English. It's constipated and stupid. Or you're so stupid you don't even know how to eat correctly. You're so stupid that you eat incorrectly and you don't even know how to eat to shit properly. You think you know everything, but you don't even know how to eat. You don't even know how to groom yourself. You don't even know how to have sex or conversations. You're just constipated and stupid. The most dangerous thing to yourself is yourself and your desires and your wants. And you go after your desires and your wants blindly. Constipated and stupid. That's the main word. Stupid and constipated. Constipated and stupid. But that's such a special word to me. I think about it sometimes, sometimes I used to think about it very often. And of course, I use the word American today, but they didn't have no word like that back in the day. Anyway, I think this person might be about to come up and talk to me. So I might have to pause this in a second. We'll see here. But stupid. We're so stupid in this country. It's ridiculous, man. We're almost illiterate in this country. I don't want to show the license plate. Let me see. Let me see what's about to happen. But I'm going to keep talking. So, special kind of stupid. Be 3 feet behind your head. Be 3 feet behind your head. In the religion called Scientology, which was created by a man named L. Ron Hubbard, who is widely believed these days to have been a charlatan. In Scientology, you got to study all of these different things to get to the top level. And then when you get to the top level, you can learn something that can help you become what's called one shot clear. One shot clear. There's something in Scientology called the one shot clear. Now, don't ask Scientologists about it because most of them don't know it exists. And the ones that do know it exists, they're not going to want to talk about it because it's up there. It's supposed to be, again, one shot clear. So Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard. Let's just talk about L. Ron Hubbard real quick. L. Ron Hubbard was the most prolific science fiction writer in American history at one time. And then at some point, he got really interested in the study of psychology. Psychology was very popular in America today, kind of like reality TV. I can't think of anything. Popular science, moon travel. People thought of psychology at the time. It was like the most groundbreaking science. People were blown away by it. All kind of crazy things were happening. They just invented the vibrator. And the vibrator was invented by psychiatrists. It was a psychiatry tool. Doctors used to manually, there was a mental disease at the time in America and around the world called hysteria. Only women suffered from hysteria. Hysteria was the culmination of Sigmund Freud's ultimate theory of incorrect brainy stuff. I can't think of the language right now. I haven't talked or thought about psychology on the level I'm going to start talking in years. So I'm not a psychologist, anything like that. I'm an idiot, according to most Americans. I'm a high school dropped out at 16, got my GED, went to Job Corps, got a trucking license, yada, 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 all this other stuff. Been to prison from the slums of Chicago. And think about what Americans are saying about Chicago right now. Donald Trump considers us something not American. I was born and raised in Chicago. So according to Donald Trump and MAGA, I'm not a real American. I am an invasive species that needs to be exterminated and eradicated. MAGA will try to downplay it as much as they want to, but he has troops from Texas, where I'm at right now. He has troops from Texas. For some reason, he wants the National Guard of Texas to invade the city of Chicago. Like we don't have our own National Guard. That's very good. This might be the beginning of a new civil war. They've been talking about it. A lot of people who support Donald Trump, all of the white supremacists that voted for Donald Trump, they try to downplay this white supremacy thing as much as they want. But these white supremacists, and we all know who they are, they throw names out there all the time like Nazis. We shouldn't talk about Nazis here in America. The real white supremacist threat here in America is the Ku Klux Klan, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Aryan Circle, and about 1,000 other gangs and affiliations and organizations that I could name that have been actively terrorizing America, in most cases for decades, in some cases for over a century, especially when we talk about organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. Some people talk about race all the time, especially on that right side, the political side of MAGA. They talk about race all the time, but they never talk about the groups I just named right there. According to the FBI, these have been the most dangerous terrorist groups in America for, again, over 100 years now. Now, Donald Trump wants to whitewash American history to eliminate all of this talk of that. No more talking about the Klan. No more talking about movies like The Birth of the Nation. There are two Birth of the Nation movies. The first one was a white supremacist movie. It's a historical thing. If you've done any type of study in American arts, television, entertainment, even computation, you should have run across the story of the movie. It's like the birth of Hollywood. If you watch the documentary on the very beginning of Hollywood, etc., etc., it was a movie called Birth of a Nation, where a lot of white actors painted their faces as black people, and they were portraying like black people were just raping a bunch of white women in this movie. This is the one reason that this is a stereotype and a trope to this day in 2025. Siri hasn't been working properly, right? But let's see if it'll work right now. Hey, Siri. I'll actually push the button. Hey, Siri. What year did the movie Birth of a Nation come out? The original.
The Birth of a Nation was released in 1915. Another film with the same title was released in 2016. This is from Britannica and Wikipedia.
So the 1915 movie is the one I'm talking about. Hey Siri, tell me more about that Birth of a Nation movie made in 1915. What's the controversy about?
The Birth of a Nation is a 1915 American silent epic drama film directed by D.W. Griffith and starring Lillian Gish. The film is set during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, and Reconstruction period, 1865 to 1877. The film has long been hailed for its technical and dramatic innovations. This is from Wikipedia and other websites.
Anyway, that answer wasn't good. I wasn't paying attention. Somebody was driving up on me, but I wasn't paying attention. But that description didn't say any of the stuff that I just said right now. So let me actually look up the Wikipedia page for Birth of a Nation. Birth of a Nation 1915 film. So this is a different site. This is actually IDMB. And let's see. I might even read some reviews, but let's see if we can see the description. Two families, abolitionist Northerners and Stonemans, well, two families, abolitionist Northerners, the Stonemans, and Southern landowners, the Camerons, intertwine in director D.W. Griffith's controversial Civil War epic. When Confederate Colonel Ben Cameron Henry B. Wathald is captured in battle, Nurse Eloise Stoneman petitions for his pardon. In Reconstruction era South Carolina, Cameron founds the Ku Klux Klan, battling Elise's congressman father, Ralph Harris, and his African-American protege, Silas Lynch, George Sigmund. That ain't no description. Boy, that is... Did they clean it up like that, or was this always how it was? So, the Klan, these are like movie covers, pictures, photos. Somebody played Abraham Lincoln, who was the villain of that film, or one of the villains of the film. The real villains were the white dudes that had their faces painted, that were attacking white women to rape them, burning in villages and all this other stuff. I can't believe that that's the description, man. That's a sucky description. But I'm gonna read a review. Let's read some reviews. The worst thing about Birth of a Nation is how good it is. This is an article, The New Yorker. The House of Dynamite. Wait, the fuck? Websites don't work anymore. So I clicked on reading a review. You gotta pay $2.50 to read that review. How horrible. The link from IMDb led to an article that's hidden behind the paywall. Wow. Wait a second. I click on full review. And that, like I say, that article to a paywall article comes up. That's crazy. They're all leading to articles. These aren't reviewers. As a work of art, it's unforgettable. As a social document, it's unforgivable. Quality of movie, 4 stars. Content of movie, 1 star. Anyway, again, Americans are stupid. That's one reason that I feel the need to even describe something like that, that we all should have been taught at some point in our growing up here in America. But most people don't know about that. Most Americans don't know about that. Most Americans, again, constipated and stupid. So stupid they don't even know how to eat. They claim to be Christians, but everything they do is against the Bible. The Santa Claus thing, the Christmas thing, Christmas being on December 25th, the fact that the days of the week are named after Roman and Latin and Greek gods, millions of things. They talk about how this is a Christian nation. So how come so many non-Christian symbols are hidden all throughout Americans' icons? So many Masonic symbols, so many Freemason symbols, so many Illuminati symbols, the actual Illuminati. The Illuminati the real Illuminati, the Illuminati that got exterminated in 1776. Again, we're stupid in this country. I've talked to so many Americans about the Illuminati. They don't know. The ones that claim to know the most about it know the least about it. And the things that they say, it's like, what the fuck are you even reading? You say you read it. Where did you read it? They've been writing books about the Knights Templars and the Masons and all these other things for centuries. The crazy thing that happened with the Illuminati in 1776, that was so insane that even at the time, so many historians was writing about it. There have been books about this for hundreds of years. Yet Americans talk about it all the time, and they just make up stuff in their imagination. Talking to American Christians about theology is mind-blowing. Talking to them about their diet or their workout habit or so many things. Now, I'm not doing well. I'm very poor, come from extreme poverty and haven't escaped it. So I'm even worse than stupid to most Americans. Again, look at our country. Look at how Donald Trump is the president, even though he is barely literate. The man was born in like 1936. Hey, Google. Hey, Siri. What year was Donald Trump born?
Donald Trump was born the 14th of June, 1946, and is 79 years old.
I was off by 10 years. 1946. So he was born in the 40s? 46? No. Hold on a second. No, hold on a second. He was not born in that's not good math. How old is Donald Trump? (1946). It was 2025. So 25 plus 54. Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah, that is 79. I don't know why I was thinking Trump was in his 80s already. That's crazy. So 56 years plus 20. 56. Yeah, that's 79. June 14th, 1946. But he's still born in the 40s. Born in the 40s. Look at that picture of Trump. It's funny how he be tripping about his pictures and stuff. And the pictures that he likes the most are the worst. That's a bad picture of Donald Trump, man. He looks so damn creepy in there. Imagine that face in your room at night in the dark. You look like a movie clown or something. Evil dude, man. Born in 1946. Is it possible that he doesn't know what Birth of the Nation is, the movie? Is it possible that he didn't see it? Is it possible that he doesn't know what the Klan is? Is it possible he doesn't know what the Aryan Brotherhood is? Is it possible that he doesn't know so many things that He tries to pretend he doesn't know. And again, the barely literate thing, you see the man reading. You see the man reading. We see the man reading and struggling with simple words. A good example is this acetaminophen or acetaminophen and whatever. I know my pronunciation isn't bad, but I can freaking read. And you do got to decide how you're going to pronounce it. But again, if you watch me read versus watching him read, I stumble sometimes. But again, not like him. And then if I have to slow down and read a word again, or you know what I'm saying, I can read. I can read. I can read. I could look at the words on the paper. Amount due pass. Oh shit. Yeah, my life is bad, man. I was about to read that. Legal disclaimer. To receive a oh no, I don't want to read that either. You must provide a valid email address and set up auto renewal for your Costco membership on a Visa. I can't see now. Now there's my problem. Where are my bifocals? Damn, I don't have bifocals no more. Anyway, Americans are stupid, man. Even me, I'm stupid, which I've showed right here. And I don't think it's an American problem. I think most humans are stupid. I've talked on my channel a lot how Joe Rogan used to be my favorite comedian for a long time. And one reason he was one of my favorite comedians, I got a favorite joke of Joe Rogan's. I got a lot of favorite jokes of Joe Rogan's. I really liked his 2006 special. But in it, he jokes about humans being stupid. He has a theory for the pyramids. He doesn't think that they were created by aliens. He doesn't think anything like that. But he thinks that humans were once very smart. In ancient Egypt, it was like utopia, so to speak. But intelligence was valued. And people were smart. People were figuring out all kind of things. He takes it even far. He goes, people were figuring out levitation and telepathy. See, I can't speak. I'm over here talking about Trump. I can spell it though. Telepathy. Might not be able to say it good, but I can spell. I'll beat you in the spelling bee. But that's the thing about reading too. Once you learn to read, basically, all reading in English is the same. Even words that are spelt rudely, or I was gonna say rudely, but weirdly, oddly, you could still, if you could read, you could read. But telepathically, that's the word I was thinking of. He thinks that people were speaking telepathically, but they the way the joke goes, and I'm not doing a good joke any service, but his theory of what happened to the ancient pyramids and the reason nobody knows what happened, if they was built by humans, how come we don't know? He thinks that the stupid people just outfucked the smart people. He made that joke before Idiocracy. I didn't even think about that. I think, what year did Idiocracy come out? What year did Idiocracy come out? September 1st, 2006. When was Joe Rogan Live released? When was Joe Rogan's stand-up special, Joe Rogan Live, released? So it says that Joe Rogan Live came out in 2007. So maybe Joe Rogan stole that joke from Idiocracy and he just turned it into the pyramid thing. But either way it go, according to what Siri just told me in my ear. I didn't have it on the speaker. But what Siri just told me is that Joe Rogan Live came out in 2007. And let me look that up on IMDb too. Joe Rogan Live comedy special. But that is important for me to go on with this conversation. Yeah, I saw that special. I saw all his specials. Is Joe Rogan liberal or Democrat? In January 2020 on CNN described Joe Rogan as a libertarian leaning. In 2019, Rogan described himself as socially liberal. Think about this. I'm glad I'm reading this. In 2019 to 2020, Rogan described himself as socially liberal, saying he supports same-sex marriage, gay rights, women's rights, recreational drug use, universal health care, universal basic income, gun rights, and the Second Amendment. Yeah, that's been Joe's stance forever, really. I'm asking about Joe Rogan Live, and they're steady showing me. Let me type in live from Denver. It was in Denver. Live from Denver. That's not the name of it, unless he changed the name of it. Now they talking about Rocky Mountain High. That was in Denver too. Joe Rogan Live. Let me just go to his Wikipedia page, man. I thought his comedy special, Joe Rogan Live, came out in 2006. So let's go to his Wikipedia page. Have y'all heard about Grokpedia? Maybe we'll talk about that in a second here. Joe Rogan, Joseph James Rogan Jr. Wow. He's a double Jacob. That's crazy. Is an American podcast, UFC color commentator, comedian, actor, and former television host. He hosts the Joe Rogan Experience, which is one of the most popular podcasts in the world and has been the most streamed podcast on Spotify since 2020. Rogan was born in Newark, New Jersey, and began his career in comedy in 1988 in the Boston area. After relocating to Los Angeles in 1994, he signed an exclusive developmental deal with Disney and appeared as an actor in several television shows, including Hardball and News Radio. In 1997, he started working for the UFC as an interviewer and a color commentator. He released his first comedy special, I'm Going to Be Dead Someday, in 2000, and hosted the game show Fear Factor from 2001 to 2006. After leaving Fear Factor, Rogan focused on his stand-up career and hosted more comedy specials. He hosted the Joe Rogan Experience in 2009. By 2015, it was one of the most popular podcasts in the world, regularly receiving millions of plays per episode. Spotify obtained exclusive distribution rights to the Joe Rogan Experience in 2020 for $200 million. Rogan audience has since grown significantly, and in 2024 he renewed his Spotify deal. And in 2024 he renewed his Spotify deal for an estimated $250 million, but will no longer be exclusive to them. Oh, I gotta read this. Rogan has voiced his support for same-sex marriage, recreational drug use legalization, universal health care, universal basic income, gun rights, and free speech while opposing cancel culture and the military adventurism. Rogan has been criticized for promoting conspiracy theories, COVID-19 misinformation, and for hosting guests who spread misinformation and pseudoscience, having previously endorsed Ron Paul in 2012. Oh, he endorsed Ron Paul when I know he was endorsing him in 2012. I was endorsing Ron Paul in 2012 for sure. And Bernie Sanders in 2020. I was still Ron Paul in 2020. Ron Paul. I might have wrote in Ron Paul if I voted in 2020. I don't think I did. But anyway, Rogan supported Donald Trump in 2024. He later criticized some of Trump's policies. Anyway, let's look at his filmology. All right. So yeah, according to this Wikipedia page, Joe Rogan Live came out in 2006. That's a very important question. Now think about this. This is the same phone I just asked Siri that, and it told me 2007 when I asked when Joe Rogan Live came out. Joe Rogan Live, according to the Wikipedia page, is 2006, and my memory tells me it was 2006. It was. It was. It came out. I saw it in 2006 because I got released from prison in 2006. So 100%, it came out in 2006 because I saw it that same year. And I already was a big fan of Joe Rogan. I love Fear Factor. You know, it's funny, Joe Rogan clowns himself and clowns Fear Factor and talks about how stupid the show is. And he talks about how stupid the people on the show were. And it does seem like a crazy premise. You do this competition where you have a chance of winning $50,000, but you have more chance of winning absolutely nothing. It's 6 contestants, 1 person wins, and it's all about who does the worst dares and tests. And again, the 5 runner-ups don't get nothing. And they do crazy stuff, embarrass themselves and humiliate themselves. And it's a fear factor thing. So you got to do things that most people would be terrified of doing. Lay in a bed full of scorpions, do some kind of weird stunt, eat something completely disgusting. It was weird. It was really weird. But again, it was fascinating to watch for a person like me. Joe Rogan was good at commentating on it. He was good at giving the banter back and forth. He was good with the off-the-cuff remarks. It was a very entertaining show. And I thought it was. Especially back then. These days, I couldn't watch it because it's 2025, so that would be old hat. And Fear Factor came out, Fear Factor came out so long ago. Let me see, Fear Factor TV. Fear Factor 2001 to 2012 is when Joe Rogan hosted it. So 2001 to 2012, literally, over 2 decades ago, almost 25 years ago. But anyway, I'm supposed to be talking about Americans are stupid, but that was the joke. He believed that the stupid people outfucked the smart people. And again, there's a movie that people talk about all the time. The premise is Idiocracy, where 500 years from now, the stupid Americans have vastly out. This is a crazy comedy. It's a super, super crazy comedy. It's so funny, and it's so weird, and it's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's great. It's so stupid and brilliant at the same time. It's a futuristic movie and a comedy, and if you haven't seen it, you got to see it. But so many people say that we're living in that time now, and we are. Look at how Donald Trump won the election. It wasn't intellectually discussing politics with people. It was roasting people from lecterns, from political podiums. He was calling people stupid and ugly. And when people would bring up valid things against him, he would be like, nah, boo-boo. I'm rubber, you glue, bounces off of me and sticks to you, so to speak. And sometimes more crudely and immature than that. And it was so crazy. He didn't answer anything. He went through all these debates where he didn't have to answer any questions seriously. And so many Americans love him. I'm a political junkie. And I talk about it sometimes. I'm on the spectrum, autism and ADHD. If you've watched any of my videos before, you might be tripping out because I'm going to have to go back and watch this video, but it looks like I'm not doing any of my tics. It looks like I'm speaking super cerebrally, or not even, that's not the right word. I'm always cerebral, but I'm articulating and talking and speaking very properly and correctly. Of course, my English and my Ebonics is what it is, but autism. I read a lot. I study a lot, and I've been a political junkie my whole life. I used to stay up late in my house. I was raised by a single mother, and my big sister. And my mom was married 4 times, so I probably had a stepfather for half of my childhood. Um, and I got to listen to these red pill dudes. Anyway, um, tell me what it's like growing up in Chicago. Tell me, they've been painting a really weird picture of the ghetto in Chicago for decades now. The modern day right wing, people who like Charlie Kirk, who just passed away, people like Candace Owens, they have never been to where I'm from. They've never been there. They've never been there. They've never been to the part of Chicago I'm from. I could say that with 100% confidence. They've never been to the part of Chicago where I'm from. But they've been speaking on it for decades, talking about how horrible it is and scary it is and this and that. And they talk about our crime statistics without talking about the math correctly. Yes, Chicago has always had a lot of homicides, but it's always been not always, but for quite a while, it's been a congested, overcrowded city. I'd hated the term overcrowded when I was growing up in Chicago. I felt it was so insulting. Who are you to say that my city's overcrowded? But it is what it is. It's mathematics. And how many people to square feet. And the part of Chicago I'm from, it was crazy. I grew up right around the Robert Taylor Projects. People were living, the Robert Taylor Projects was crazy. Think about where you live. Now imagine thousands more residents living in your building with you, all on top of each other, really tall sky rises. The Robert Taylor Projects was like 12 or 13 floors, a whole bunch of route for 20 blocks. And Chicago city blocks are big. They're bigger than most places that you'll travel. A city block in Chicago is, they used to say, teaching us growing up, that it's 8 blocks to a mile in Chicago. Let's see if Siri can answer this. Let me try to turn off my Bluetooth so the camera could pick up these responses. And I might have to activate Google because, as you see, Siri is giving some really bad answers today. When I was growing up in Chicago, they told us that 8 city blocks in Chicago equaled a mile. Is that correct now, or was that ever correct? A website popped up, Chicago Studies. This is chicagostudies.org. UChicago EDU. So I'm guessing this is the University of Chicago's website. Getting around Chicago is a lot easier if you understand the grid that underlines its system of streets and addresses. I'm in the reading mood today. That's what it is. I'm in the reading mood and the working out mood today. I need to work out and read a lot. That underlies the system of streets and addresses, but it wasn't always this way. As the video above describes, Chicago's street system was a complicated mess well into the early 20th century. Although the 1830 city plan made provisions for an orderly system of north and southern, east-west streets, we're reading about the Chicago City Grid on the Educational Pub website right now. The annexation and surrounding communities, such as the village of Hyde Park, had led to duplications of names and even whole addresses across the growing city. Things got so bad that the Postal Service threatened to stop delivering mail to Chicago addresses. In 1901, Rogers Park residents, Rogers Park, the jungle, and private citizens Edward P. Brennan approached the city council with a solution, renamed and renumbered nearly all city streets according to a new convention. And see, stuff like that is smart. Sometimes you just have to evolve as a city. I believe Donald Trump is leading us down the road of devolution, not evolution. But either way it go, wherein street numbers would locate properties relative to central X, east, west, and Y, north, south axis. I'm not reading that correctly. I'm supposed to read that mathematically. Wherein street numbers would relocate properties relative to central X, east-west, and Y, north-south axis, with an imaginary center point at the intersection of Madison, east-west, and State, north-south streets. I'm going to stop reading what's in the parentheses and the brackets. I'm still trying to read it silently. No, I can't do that. Anyway, streets in the heart of the downtown business district, 8 years and dozens of city council meetings later, Brennan's proposal was adopted by the city council and the Chicago grid system was implemented. Learning the grid system requires some effort, but once you understand it, it will enable you to navigate Chicago with much more confidence. A grid savvy Chicagoan immediately knows, for example, anybody with fucking common sense. Like I said, I grew up in the city. And this was many, many years after after the grid system in Chicago was created. And that's something I figured out really early with common sense, back to the point of Americans being so stupid. As a Chicago city kid, I was a city kid. I was one of them kids that ran the street all the time, talked to strangers all the time, played with strangers all the time, playing with homeless people, played with fellow Chicagoans. We used to play back in the parks. I was born in the 70s. Things was different. Kids played outside all day, every day. At least the normal kids. There were plenty of normal kids that didn't play outside and didn't play without their parents' uh, supervision and all this other type of stuff, but I wasn't one of those kids. There was a lot of kids, even back then, they had kids raised in a very gentle bubble way. Um, they had kids that had to schedule play dates and have supervised play dates, etc., etc., etc. But now we see how nasty people are, man. You know what I'm saying? It is a different day. And this is one thing that's very hard about America. Back in my day, we didn't have to know that other types of people existed. Even a person like me, a kid like me that just traveled all the time, talking to strangers all day, every day, there's no way that I could have known what I was going to see once I moved to the South. It's a completely different world. Chicago, I moved to Texas in 1993. Chicago 1993 and San Antonio, Texas 1993 were completely different worlds. They were both America. They both had the highway system. They both had the same things, but different ways in different locations. They both had plenty of street gangs. They both had plenty of drugs and crime. They both had, they both were, had growth and metropolitan and city planning and all this other stuff, but they were so different in so many different ways. And then, of course, the weather is so starkly different. And the people, that's the most shocking thing. You know what I'm saying? All these people wearing cowboy hats, and it's unnecessary cowboy hats. That's one thing even now. I live in Texas and I've been living here for decades now, but it still blows my mind when you see somebody wearing uncomfortable cowboy garb for no reason. Like, why are you wearing extra tight jeans, this big cumbersome belt buckle that anytime you bend a certain way, it pokes into your belly and pokes into your crotch? Then his cowboy hat, and they was often and still do often get them fitted real tight to where it squeezed their head and it leave like a ring mark around their head. Some of them. Again, that's one of those silly things. If you're just doing it for fashion reasons, you might be one of those dudes. But I know plenty of cowboy guys that wear cowboy hats for the cowboy reason, to keep the sun off your damn neck and face. But again, that's not why most people wear them. You'll see people wearing cowboy hats in the middle of winter. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's just, as a Chicagoan and a Chicagoan like myself, I'm a black Chicagoan. I'm a black American. And black America has always been different from white America. America is so big, but here's the thing. Black America and white America always do these things exactly alike and exactly the opposite. And it's always been that way. And white people have always tried to change it. That's what the word nigger really means. They say it means stupid. They say it means ignorant, but it doesn't mean it. It means incorrect in the same way that word I talked about earlier, the indigenous word, when they would say that these Europeans were stupid and constipated. That's what nigger means. It doesn't mean ignorant like you don't know how to read. As a matter of fact, you'd be more likely to be called a nigger if you was a black person trying to read in the slave days. But it means different in a different way. It means you're incorrect for not listening to me and doing things the way we do because we do it correctly. You people are stupid. You people are not civilized human beings. Civilization. There's a thin line between civilization and forced domestication. Husbandry. Changing something genetically. Turning the wolf into the dog. That's what the white people were trying to do with us. And when I say the white people, I'm talking about the historical white Americans. When they outlawed the importation of slavery in America. And now the only slaves that you can have in America, they had to be American-made slaves. We have a history of that. From here on out, just what Donald Trump is doing with the tariffs. That's what happened when they outlawed the importation of slavery. Some people thought that when they outlawed the importation of slavery, that might lead to abolition eventually. That's one step closer. But those people, the conservative mind or Confederate minded people in America, were they had it a different way. You know, the people who were for abolition, they thought that maybe outlawing the importation of slaves would be a good thing, a step towards emancipation and abolition. But it wasn't. What it did is it capitalized and commercialized slavery. Now, if you want to buy a slave, it has to be made in the United States. So that started a lot of, well, there were already breeding farms, but now breeding farms were the only way you could get your slaves. So that led to countless atrocities right here in our American history. A lot of these people on the MAGA side, they love to say that people like myself, we weren't slave and slavery doesn't affect us, didn't affect us. Slavery is literally in my blood. Your ancestors forced my ancestors to breed systematically in factory style ways. They were treating black women like chicken laying eggs that they're trying to domesticate from wild chickens into these white chickens that all look universally the same. These white chickens that lay white chicken eggs. They figured out a way to do this genetically a long time ago. And so now they're implementing it into breeding humans. Everything I just said, you shouldn't even have to read that in the book. It's common sense. It's mathematics. It's 1 + 1 is 2. All you don't have to have me read any books. All you have to do is tell me is that I'm descended from slaves, and I look around and I look at my fellow African Americans. And then once you know the context of the laws, when was the importation of foreign slaves outlawed in America and the breeding farms?
Here's an answer from Wikipedia.
It just says 1807. So the outlawing of the implementation of slaves led to the breeding farm explosion in America. Talk about that. So if you wonder why I only use Google Gemini, now you see why. Siri listened. Talk about the effects of outlawing the importation of slavery and the breeding farm explosion that happened afterward in America.
Okay, I found this on the web for talk about the effects of outlawed the importation of slavery and the breeding farm explosion that happened after work in America. Check it out.
It shows me 3 web results. One is the Wikipedia page for the Atlantic slave trade. 2 is the Atlantic slave trade, a crime against humanity by medium.com. And then a YouTube video, the Atlantic slave trade crash course in world history. Did I ask for all of that? No. So let me pause this real quick to try to set up Gemini. Okay, so the phone that Gemini is on is dead. The battery's dead. And the research I did when I turned off the camera showed me that me and Google Gemini just have to do an episode on 1807. Because it wasn't just that they outlawed slavery, but it's also the year of the Insurrection Act, the 1807 Insurrection Act, and so many other crazy things that happened in 1807. But we've accidentally stumbled onto something. So stay tuned with me. And like I say, when I first started talking, I thought I was going to name this the sermon because I planned to like go all the way in, all the thoughts that was racing on top of each other before I started recording. I was going to try to spill those out on camera, but I couldn't. I need to write more often. It's another reason I'm not so afraid to go to jail, because jail is horrible. Prison is horrible. But that's the only place. I'm 47 years old. That's the only place I've ever been allowed to write in peace. I live in my vehicle now, but I've lived with lots of people. I've traveled a lot, and I've lived with lots of people. And I even have some offers to live with people right now. But of course, I will be moving in very chaotic houses. Anybody who's offering me a place to live right now, I've lived with them before. And I know how impossible it is to write with them, living with them. Impossible. Especially think about the things I talk about and think about. And then think about, I do kind of research where I ask Google some questions on my YouTube channel, but that's not what research is. To go to a law library and research in a law library. When I was 8 years old, I was doing research with card catalogs in public libraries. I was taught that. I got basic library education at some point in my very young, and I ran with it. It's a mathematical thing. Once you learn the Dewey Decimal System, all you got to know is the Dewey. I mean, it's like simple math thing. It's like learning how to do long division. Once you learn how to do long division, it doesn't matter how long the number is that you're dividing and the other number is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Once you know how to do it out, it might take you a long time, but you could figure it out pretty simply. And another great thing about math is math is so linear. When you start working on a math problem, it's point A to point B to point C to point D to point. And if you make a mistake, you got to systematically go back. Boom, 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 boom. And also, let's say, for instance, you go from A to B to C to D to E to F. F. Let me try to go to G. G, okay, there was a problem there. So when you make a mistake along the way, you realize, okay, something ain't right. Smells fishy. Boom, boom. Back to F, back to E, back to D, back to C. And then if you go to, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, but all of this stuff is so simple. We're so stupid as Americans, but we're so arrogant. We think other people are stupid. It's not just the indigenous word and the Spanish word, the Spanish American word, tapao, stupid and constipated, but it's other words. Other Europeans look at us, the ugly American stereotype and the trope. That's so simple. Siri should be able to answer this. What is the ugly American trope?
Here's an answer from Wikipedia and tvtropes.org.
Why not read it? The ugly American is a pejorative stereotype depicting American citizens as loud, arrogant, self-absorbed, demeaning, thoughtless, ignorant, and ethnocentric. The term is often applied to American tourists, expats, or diplomats, since they are in the best position to interact with foreign cultures. And I actually clicked on it because I'm going to actually look at the Wikipedia page. And let's see. This article is about the negative stereotype about the behavior of Americans, especially abroad. For the 1958 novel about American diplomacy in Southeast Asia, see The Ugly American. Ugly American is a stereotype depicting American citizens as exhibiting loud, arrogant, self-absorbed, demeaning, thoughtless, ignorant, and ethnocentric behavior, mainly abroad, but also at home. Although the term is usually associated with or applied to travelers and tourists, it also applies to U.S. corporate businesses in the international arena. The Collins English Dictionary defines an ugly American as a stereotypical representation of an American tourist as a brash and insensitive Philistine. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary's definition is an American in a foreign country whose behavior is offensive to the people of that country. Origin, this is what I wanted to find. The term made its appearance through the title of the 1958 book, The Ugly American. The book was a thinly fictionalized chronicle of American diplomatic insensitivity, ineptness, and bungling in Southeast Asia. The message of the book was that American officials abroad were ignorant of local customs, social norms, and culture, and consequently losing influence to communism in the region during the period of the Cold War. Since then, the term ugly American has become shorthand for the stereotype of loud, boorish American behavior abroad. Although the 1958 novel was about diplomacy and made no reference to American tourists, the evolution of the term usage of the term's usage to refer to ill-mannered Americans in foreign countries took place rapidly. In December 1959, Newsweek magazine referred to poorly oriented American study abroad students in Europe as the ugly ones. And in June 1960, the Mass Circulation Parade magazine ran an article about tourism titled Don't Be an Ugly American, written by Francis Knight, director of the U.S. Passport Office. Let's read that one more time. In June 1960, the Mass Circulation Parade magazine ran an article about tourism titled Don't Be an Ugly American, written by Francis Knight. Let's see if we can find that article. It's all the way from 1960. Francis Knight, the former director of the U.S. Passport Office, wrote an article titled Don't Be an Ugly American, which appeared Don't Be an Ugly American, which appeared in the June 5th, 1960 issue of Parade magazine. The piece was a plea to American tourists to be more respectful of foreign cultures and improve their manners while traveling abroad. Key factors about the article. The purpose. Knight's article was a direct response to the negative stereotype of the ugly American, arguing that a small, ill-behaved minority was damaging the image of the larger American population. She asked tourists to express their patriotism by being better cultural ambassadors. I didn't know it was a she. Glad I'm continuing to read. Connection to a novel. Okay, we already read all that. Wider context. The article was published during the Cold War, a time when the image of the United States on the world stage was a major concern. Creating a positive impression was seen as vital to countering Soviet influence. The text was later inserted into the Congressional Record on June 6, 1960, showing its political relevance. I want to read that. It's in the National Archives, so let's see if I can find it real quick. According to that, but no link to it. Two links, but neither one leads to. Let me see. Nope. Neither one of those lead to the article. Let me go back to the Wikipedia page and look at the references at the bottom. It's a lot of links. Oh my goodness. And I bring this up to so many people and they've never heard of it. That's shocking to me. I knew about this trope before I was 10 years old, I guarantee you. But again, I spent time in the library. And I would have fought somebody if they tried to make fun of me for the library. I liked fighting when I was growing up. And when people made fun of me, that was a perfect excuse. Sometimes. I did get in so much trouble. But if somebody was trying to bully me or bully somebody else, that was usually a green light from my mother and the school and the staff members to pummel them. As long as I didn't pummel them too bad, as long as there was no blood, no broken bones or nothing like that, I wouldn't be in, not only would I not be in trouble, but I might get some kind of commendation. It's one reason that we're so violent in this country. Men and males only get recognition and credit when they're being violent, unfortunately. I'm not reading, by the way, I'm talking. I'm still searching to see. This is insane. I see a lot of recent articles are are a lot of these articles are about Trump and being the ugly American and the representation of American and in life, but I'm not finding that. Damn it. So again, we're gonna have to do part 2 when I can have Google Gemini helping me out with this, because I read fast, especially when I'm reading silently like what I'm doing right now. But it's still, this is my third time, my second or third time going over this list, and all of these references are very recent. All of these references are so 1989. That's the oldest date I'm seeing right there. 1989 is the oldest of all those references. 1989 is the oldest one. Damn it! I want to find the. The text was later inserted to the congressional record on June 6th, showing this. And then, like I say, when I click on that link, I don't see no .gov, .org, nothing that would be relevant. Coca colonization. Coca colonization. No wonder these people hate the damn universities and colleges. I'm not. Anyway, let me click on this. This is at archive.org, and it is a PDF, unfortunately. I don't want to download no PDF right now. But this is archive.org out of California. Oh, no. This is referring to some magazine that had an article about it. And this is, let me see. Dang, they got the whole magazine. This is a cool PDF, actually. Hold on 1 second. This might be worth it. No. That came out in 1986, so that was somebody talking about what we're looking for. Like I said, I'm looking for the original. Hey Siri. I probably disabled Siri or something like that. Hopefully that's what's going on here. Oh, no, 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 no. There's something going on. There's something going on. I forgot what they're calling it, but there's a lot of things that aren't going to be working anymore until they fix it. The Amazon something. What's this Amazon problem everybody's talking about?
Here's some news about Amazon.
Let me just type it in like this. Damn, this is why I don't like Siri, man. I gotta type it. Well, I gotta do this with both of the search engines. Gotta type in a really proper prompt sometimes. All right, so here we go. What? Wait. Oh, man. I gotta download an app to look at that. I am in America, so I'm going to, just so I don't get no copyright trouble or anything like this, we're going to look at this Times of India article. Amazon Web Services go down for the second time this month. Amazon Web Service, AWS, the backbone of much of the internet, has experienced its second major outage in months. Similar to the AWS outage on October 20, this one appears to be widespread too. Reports suggest that this disruption across websites, apps, and cloud-based platforms. As reported by Down Detector, the incident started on yesterday, October 29th, and it affected services ranging from e-commerce and social media websites to enterprise tools and streaming platforms. As per Down detector, thousands of users report issues accessing AWS hosted services. The outage appeared to impact multiple regions through AWS, though AWS has disputed the extent of the disruption, stating AWS is operating normally and this reporting is incorrect. The company urged users to rely on its official health dashboard for accurate service status. That didn't give us enough information that I wanted to talk about, because let me just ask directly, is it affecting? And now I'm asking Google, I'm not even asking Siri. Oh, I got to download Google to this device to do that. No, I'll pass. Let's see, I could do it this way. Is the Amazon outage of October 29th affecting Siri today? While Amazon's web services, AWS, experienced service issues on October 29th, 2025, that affected many websites, there's no evidence that Siri was affected. So it ain't connected to that. Hey, Siri. Let me just look at my settings real quick. It's on, so why is it not working? Hey, Siri. My Siri settings are all correctly. They don't have my location. They don't have a lot of permissions, but they've never had any of those permissions. Turning it off, turning it back on. And I just gave it a few more permissions. Siri. Hey, Siri. Siri was never really good at answering some of those questions, those especially difficult questions that I asked. But like I say, we know now that the next episode has to be on 1806. And we'll continue talking about the stupidity of Americans, including myself. When I say Americans are stupid, I was educated in this country too. We're stupid and we're smart. It's like everybody in the world. Every single day we're absorbing information. But how much of that is disinformation? How much of it's incorrect information? I wanted to make a subject. I wanted to talk about this subject, about how weird young people are walking. Young people always walk weird, but this college session that started right now, these young people are walking so weird. They're walking so weird. Their gait, their strides, their heel land, the ball of the foot land, everything is so strange. And again, it's back to that tapow. When it comes to exercise, there's usually nothing that we ever do more than walking. But so many of us walk incorrectly. Read a book on it. Born to Run is a great book. I highly recommend. But anyway, I've gone over and I didn't express the information that I want to, but I'm sending a message to myself right now. As soon as we can, we're going to do an episode about 1807 where we're going to talk about the Insurrection Act. We're going to talk about how they outlawed importing slaves, just like now with the tariffs. Remember, at the time, that was slaves were America's number one moneymaker. Anyway, peace out.